Hello there. As more news comes out regarding the deal Theresa May has struck with the EU, many are saying it is just one big sellout. While Michael Gove and Boris Johnson congratulate the Prime Minister effusively on securing a Brexit deal with the EU that allows us to progress onto the next stage of talks, others, such as Nigel Farage, are calling it a massive cave-in to Brussels. The Environment Secretary Michael Gove has been touring the broadcasters in support of the Prime Minister today, hailing Theresa May's deal as a win and as a significant personal achievement, says The Guardian. And the Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson said, "Congratulations to PM for her determination in getting today's deal. We now aim to forge a deep and special partnership with our European friends and allies while remaining true to the referendum result, taking back control of our laws, money and borders for the whole of the UK." But former UKIP leader Nigel Farage told LBC host Nick Ferrari that with this agreement, coupled with talk that the UK will fork out up to £40 billion, the PM had crossed over her supposed red lines. "But what you're asking for, Mrs May, is you want to stay a member of the European Union for a further 2 years, but we'll call it a transition phase," he said. "And any new rules that get made during the 2-year period, indeed any fresh budgetary obligation that come up in the 2-year period, you will have to comply with. But at no stage during that time can you have a say or a vote. Great, isn't it?" And when Nick Ferrari said, "She's folded, Nigel," Mr Farage responded with, "Oh, it's pathetic." Nigel Farage went on to say, "In reality, it means that this transition phase, by which I mean membership of the EU but not in name, is going to go on until the next general election, and that will be nearly 6 years after people voted Brexit. It's just not good enough." And speaking on the Daily Politics at lunchtime, the current UKIP leader, Henry Bolton, said that the wording of both Articles 49 and 50 of the agreement pointed to the whole of the UK being bound by single market rules, the EU and ECJ into the future. When challenged by the presenter Joe Coburn, who said that UKIP was now just a lone voice because all the Tory Brexiteers were behind this deal, Henry Bolton said that the only reason for that internal party vocal support was to basically prop up the Tory party domestic position by propping up a weak Prime Minister. The agreement itself, published on the EU website, to which I put a link in the description box below, is 15 pages long and runs to 96 paragraphs, covering the Irish border issue, citizens' rights post-Brexit, the so-called divorce payment, and some other outline issues. Now, on the reference to further ECJ control in the UK after Brexit Day, it appears from my reading, but remember I'm no expert, that under Article 38 of the document, this will just be limited access for UK courts to go to the ECJ for a ruling on the interpretation of EU law, and that this mechanism will be available for 8 years after Brexit Day. Now, it may be limited, but 8 years sounds a long time to me, considering that family members etc. will also be included in this, and there will be a lot of births, deaths, marriages, divorces and separations during those 8 years that could complicate the whole thing. There is also one throwaway line later on in Article 91 on cooperation in civil and commercial matters, where it says, "There was also agreement to provide legal certainty as to the circumstances under which union law on jurisdiction, recognition and enforcement of judgments will continue to apply, and that judicial cooperation procedures should be finalised." The bit "will continue to apply" worries me. Under the financial settlement, there is a lot of technical jargon, and I think a lot more will be known as experts scour it over the course of the weekend. It is the requirements laid on the UK under the Irish border question that are most alarming. Some you have already heard about, and one I'm a bit concerned about as well. Under Articles 49 and 50 of this agreement, unless a specific deal is agreed, the UK as a whole will be obliged to maintain full alignment with those rules of the internal market and the customs union which, now or in the future, support North-South cooperation, the all-island economy and the protection of the 1998 agreement. This seems to me to be the starting point of the next stage of talks. Think about that one. Now, the preamble to this agreement says that, under the caveat that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed, the joint commitment set out in this joint report shall be reflected in the withdrawal agreement in full detail. So any deal we do come to as a result of this agreement would appear to start from a baseline of full alignment. Whatever that is judged to be and who will be judging what that means is unclear. Will this prevent or limit the UK from entering into its own deals around the world? And if so, for how long? For Brexit to truly occur, we need to have full trade freedom from day one. But this leaves the way open to almost perpetual EU control via the back door as far as I can see. Then there's Article 51. Now this one really is one-sided. Both parties will establish mechanisms to ensure the implementation and oversight of any specific arrangement to safeguard the integrity of the EU internal market and the customs union. This means that we can now no longer claim that the erection of any type of border, such as for the imposition of tariffs for example, would be the fault of the EU alone, as with this clause we have now signed up to protecting the EU single market and would have to do the same as they do. It is also not reciprocated, so the EU does not have to lift a finger to protect the UK's internal market. Lastly, this agreement also prevents the UK from having better standards than the EU, because we will not be able to prevent the sale of EU goods into the UK. I'll give you a couple of hypothetical examples. What if there was a food scare in the EU that they were comfortable with, but we were not? Would we be able to stop the sale of that particular foodstuff into the UK? What if global research came out that advised urgent change to agricultural processes in some way to make it safer? Would we have to wait for the EU to adopt it before we did? I suppose the Tory negotiators would say not to worry, that all this will come out in the details to follow. But it does seem to me to be a pretty non-Brexit baseline from which to continue. What do you think? Please leave a comment below. Thank you. Please do like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. And when subscribing, please do remember to press on the little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you'll get an alert every single time I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching.